For our next topic, we have, along the same line. So you have Androids being penetrated. Obviously, the other part here is Apple here. What's interesting here on an article here, according to Reuters.com, Apple is warning of cybercrime risk if EU forces it to allow other softwares to be, uploaded or installed through other means. Even the payment is another issue that Apple is contesting here. So obviously, if you're a consumer, you always want choice so that you can, you know, think of what's a better alternative here, whether it's right or wrong. But having choice is always important. But Apple tries to remove that choice from that individual by obviously lacking in the ecosystem. But obviously with the recently concluded court case between Epic Games and Apple, wherein the judge sided with the consumer here that other developers should be able to offer another means to accept payment here, but that's just for the payment there. But the question here is in terms of cybersecurity issue or cyber crimes, allowing other softwares to what do you call this, to be enabled or to be installed in other means. Obviously it's the choice for the consumers at the end of the day. But the question is, what is Apple doing to combat that within their platform? I'm sure it's not just Google's Android system that's being targeted here, especially in the North American region. Apple's ecosystem in terms of the app dangerous apps that's being proliferated in their ecosystems currently, and how is Apple able to stop all of them, or just some of them? Anyway, let's see here. What was it? So obviously, the coalition for app fairness in where was it? In Europe, which includes you have Spotify, Match Group, and Epic Games. Obviously, trying to make arguments as to Apple's monopolistic features or practices. Sorry, that built-in security measures such as encrypted data and antivirus programs provide security to devices, not to its app store. And obviously, the group wants regulators to loosen Apple's grip on its app store so they can bypass it to reach Apple's hundreds of millions of users and try to avoid paying the commission. Now, obviously, that's a totally separate issue, but the point here is iPhone or the Apple maker is against this because obviously this is detriment to their business, and saying that it would affect the consumers what do you call this, consumer safety here is another. And what's interesting here, according to the report, if Apple were forced to support side loading, it could be more harmful for apps, would reach users because it would be easier for cyber criminals to target them even if side loading were limited to third-party apps. So I think regardless, right? So obviously in the platform itself, unless Apple is finding a way to screen those apps that's applying and checking every app that's being installed here. Now obviously every day there are new apps that's being installed. That's why it's incumbent for the company or Apple in this case to vet every app that's being uploaded here and try to filter out those unwanted apps here, because obviously no one wants that. And if I'm an Apple user, I'll be pro for Apple, limiting, maximizing control here. But they're not doing a great job as it is, because the products that they're offering, the tracking of the iPhone, Apple AirTags is bordering data privacy here. And then in the apps itself, that there are uh, malicious parties here that's trying to take advantage, and obviously it's up to the platform to ensure the safety of the ecosystem. And if they've not done a better job, then maybe they should be given more opportunities, or for consumers to find other means to install apps that can be considered a more safer environment here outside of Android, and you have the App Store here. What's interesting here, according to a lawyer, Damien Gerardine, The side loading issue was just a distraction here. Okay. What matters to us is the obligation imposed on developers whose apps sell digital goods and services to use Apple's in-app payments. Again, it's going back to the bottom line. Obviously, it's a big cash cow for Apple here, and obviously, the companies that are developing those apps wants to retain those profit for themselves. So question is, does it benefit the consumer at the end of the day? And whether it's be in the Apple App Store or through other means, if they provide the better product or a better service here, I think doesn't matter where they offer it, right? But on the said on that Apple security claims have no legs. Alternative payment solutions provided by Stripe, Eden, or PayPal are safe as AIP. Obviously, they can always make arguments here over and over whether pro Apple is right or anti Apple is right here. And Apple, what's funny, Apple also took a swipe at digital advertisers with whom it has loggerheads over its new privacy controls designed to limit them from tracking iPhone users. So again, the large companies that rely on digital advertising allege that they have lost revenue due to these privacy features. Well, that's not the problem of the consumer here. Obviously, you need to protect the interests of the end user at the end of the day, because Facebook, YouTube, and other tech companies here obviously relies on the advertisement that they generate revenue from there. And obviously, where do they get their information? Obviously, from their databases that uses their platform here. Now, obviously, it's a quid pro quo. If the user benefits from the app, or the service, and then in exchange of your information, then so be it. But to the extent of limiting the access or what can be done in terms of options for the user, it's a different discussion here altogether. Anyway, so the question here is, will this be a detriment to Apple's bottom line? I think it does eventually, because obviously it's going to hurt their, I think it was reported during the court case between Epic and Apple that they're generating no, not millions, tens of billions of dollars in just the 30% fee here, and stating that that, yeah, that the risk of cybercrime will increase. Well, it's already happening as it is because of the apps that's being installed in the App Store here, and Apple should be held responsible for allowing it, because if there were no negative what do you call this parties involved there, then people would be comfortable and knowing that the platform is safe to be used. So if I download any software, I have 100% confidence that there will be no malicious uh, softwares embedded within it. And obviously, Apple cannot claim that, and obviously there should be other alternatives as to where they can download those apps, or whether it be how they pay for it and use for it uh, for themselves. Anyway, we'll see how that pans out and what Apple plans to do here. Obviously, they have the financial backing and the large resources to fight just about anyone here that they so chooses.